My name is Father Bill Ashbaugh. I'm blessed to be the pastor of St. Thomas the Apostle Church in this wonderful school, and I'd like to welcome you to our first virtual open house of St. Thomas the Apostle School. There's been a resurgence of interest in recent years in classical education, and that's especially true within the Catholic Church. The Lord has led educators to rediscover the treasure that has always been a part of Catholic education and the legacy that we have in the church. In this open house, you will hear and see and discover for yourselves more about this classical approach to education. God made us good. He's made us for Himself. And He's placed goodness and beauty and truth in everything around us. You know, the Creator puts Himself in everything He creates. Everything is a little spoken word, revealing His goodness, truth, and beauty. And the gift of a Catholic classical approach is that we help the children discover this for themselves. It's remarkable. When we discover learning and the joy of learning, and the kind of the aha moment that can happen in education, we are filled with joy, and we're taking a step closer to God, who is good and true and beautiful. And it's wonderful to see the children grow here. I've just been so blessed to be here as pastor and to be with them in this wonderful endeavor. Nascantor in admirazione. That means let them be born in wonder. I hope you will enjoy this open house, and I hope you will choose to join us here in this effort at St. Thomas the Apostle Classical Catholic School. May God bless you.
It's been a privilege to be a part of the transformation that has taken place here to St. Thomas over these past 3 years. And that transformation in becoming a classical Catholic school, as Father Bill was explaining, is meant to allow our students really to discover their own dignity in being able to experience God in the world. And you might think, those are pretty lofty goals for a child to experience the good, the true, and the beautiful, what are often called the three transcendentals. But in a classical school, it becomes a part of the culture. It becomes a part of how we learn. And Mr. Petriga has done a beautiful job in making that a reality in the day-to-day life of a 5-year-old or those who turn 6. It's a beautiful experience for a child to, again, be born in that wonder and to have it grow, to have it deepen, to have it be that place in themselves, that place that's capable of wonder, a place that can experience wonder in math, in science, in reading, in history. And I'm excited to have you meet Mr. Petriga, both through a video that he's produced and time with him live, because our teachers are classical educators. There's a pedagogy that is part and parcel of the classical approach to educating a child. So in our kindergarten, we don't treat children as sort of a blank slate or an empty vessel that can just be filled with what we feel is necessary in our day and age. Rather, a child comes to us made in the image and likeness of God, who is made to encounter God in the world and to seek Him thereafter face to face. And that begins in all of the subjects, as Father was alluding to. And a child can experience a deepening curiosity through the questioning that goes on in the classroom, through the dialogue that takes place. Mr. Petriga owns 3 critical thinking skills in the kindergarten classroom and makes those come alive to help a child be trained in this part of themselves that is made to experience wonder, and then, can motivate them for the rest of their lives, really. And to have them experience what a classical education offers at a time in their life when they are so ready to experience these these qualities of beauty and truth and goodness, and they really are experiences. There may not be something that they can verbalize, but they feel them. They're moved by them. They're shaped by them, and they're different as a result. And that's how God intended education to be. It's meant to really bring out in a child what He has placed in them as potential to come forth in the unique way that each child is meant to reveal it. So, welcome. I'm glad you're considering to be part of St. Thomas family of faith and learning, and very pleased to have you meet Mr. Patriga. Thank you, Chris.
Thank you, Tim. All right, so now we're going to play a video clip that that Andrew Patriga put together, giving you some insight into the kindergarten classroom, showing you some of the students in action, and then also explaining what life in the kindergarten classroom is like. So let me get that all set up for you.
Hello, I'm Andrew Patriga, kindergarten teacher here at St. Thomas the Apostle Catholic School. I'm here with you today sitting in my kindergarten classroom. And I want to express to you all the things that we do throughout the year. It's amazing all the things we do. But let's begin where we begin in the classroom, with God. God is the center of everything that we learn. Everything we learn connects from God because everything that we learn is from God. So that's the first goal that we have in school, is that God is real and God is with us. The second goal I have for my class is I want to have them love to learn. I love learning myself. I spend all my off time researching and digging deeper into the things that I'm passionate about: history, math, science, literature. And my job is to pass that off onto the students, to have them understand that learning is fun, and learning makes us closer to God, helps us get closer to God. So that's our second goal for us here at kindergarten. Now, what are the tools we use to pass on this information? Well, first of all, we start with God, and from God, we branch off into all the subjects. The first subject I'd like to talk to you today is science. Science is the revelation of God in nature. It's the things He's given us in our understanding of Him. And so we have this FOSS program, very good program. It gives us lots of hands-on activities to use. The kids get to make many projects. Just the other day, we made paper, a material that we are studying. Earlier this year, we made wood. Later this year, we're going to study different animals, pill bugs, earthworms, goldfish, and we'll have hands-on practical experience with these creatures. Another subject that we learn at St. Thomas is math. Math is God being revealed in numbers. Through math, we learn about shapes, we learn about numbers, we learn about how to express those numbers in different manipulatives, such as base 10 blocks, coins. We learn patterns, so many things that God has given us for math. We couldn't be a kindergarten class without learning how to read and write. And we actually have a very excellent program for reading and writing called IEW, the Institute for Excellence in Writing. With IEW, the students are given the opportunity to start at the very beginning, where we're learning our letters and letter sounds From there, we grow and we actually start writing right away. We learn how to write each letter, and it's a long process of just carefully diagramming all the ways that we make our letters. From there, we grow and we start building words, and from words, we build sentences. And we're about halfway through the year, and the students are already identifying sentence structure, parts of speech. They're building their own paragraphs. It's amazing the things we do. Also within IEW, we do weekly poems. Every week there's a new poem that the students get on Monday, and as they work throughout the week, we analyze the poem, we talk about the story elements. Is it a story or a statement? If it's a story, it's got three things: character, setting, and a plot. If it's a statement, it's just somebody telling you something. It's somebody basically telling you about a snapshot of a scene. As we work throughout the week, the students get better at reciting their poems, and at the end of the week, the students recite the poems in front of the class. And it's a wonderful time. The students at the beginning of the year always start off a little scared, a little nervous, but because we do this throughout the year, every Friday, by this time, the students are excited to be the first ones up, to be the ones that go up. Many times the students want to go up multiple times. It's an amazing sight. We also practice our writing with copybooks, copywork by Memorial Press. This is a great program that takes, again, the students through writing our letters and then guides them through to Bible passages and gives them an opportunity to actually get firsthand experience with Bible passages. Speaking of Bible passages, being a Catholic school, we couldn't not talk about our faith. We talk about our faith all throughout the day, but we have religion class as well. In religion class, we first talk about who God the Father is. Then we talk about the Holy Trinity. We talk about the Holy Spirit. And we get into Jesus. We talk about Jesus' life, why he is sent to earth. We talk about the things that he's done. Jesus was born on earth to teach us how to live. And that's what we're learning. We learn about the importance of baptism. We learn the importance of everything that he's done. And we definitely learn about the importance of his death, sacrifice, and resurrection for us. Another program that we offer is Junior Great Books. Junior Great Books is a great way of introducing stories to our students. But not only are we just reading stories that are enjoyable, but the students have an opportunity to discuss the stories. We read the stories a couple times, and every time we're asking questions and having the students ask the questions and driving their wonder and curiosity about the characters, about the setting, about the things happening in the story. Later on, after a week of working on this and the different activities within Junior Great Books, the students have an inquiry-based discussion where questions that they developed, they answer. They sit in a circle and they answer the questions, and the students go back and forth and speak to each other about, agree, I disagree with you, this is why, here's the part in the story that makes me feel that way. It's amazing that this is happening in kindergarten. Another part of our curriculum that I really enjoy is our history. We teach the ancient world here at St. Thomas in the kindergarten curriculum. And so we go from nomads, growing up and becoming, turning into civilizations. We have Egypt, Mesopotamia. We speak about the ancient Israelites and how all these communities play with each other and interact with each other. And we follow history all up through Roman Empire and Constantine converting the empire to Christianity. This is a lot. This seems almost overwhelming. I would say this is overwhelming, except the students do it and they love it. I have never experienced a group of students who are any more excited about learning than the students we have here at St. Thomas. They come in and I give them all these things that God has taught me, that God has taught us as humans, and they just soak it up like a sponge. It's just unbelievable. But enough of my rambling. Let's take a tour of the classroom. Our tour begins at our prayer table, where the students have an opportunity to come and have a conversation with God. Above that, we have our alphabet. We have our nouns, the adjective word list we've been building all year together, how to write, adverbs that we've been building together, verbs, actions. This is our wonderful Sound City. It's a great tool to help teach the students all their different parts of words. The Apostles' Creed we recite every morning, and as we go throughout the year, it gets bigger and we'll learn the whole thing. Little Miss Muffet's our poem of this week, our weather, our morning calendar, days of the week, base 10 blocks showing how many days we've been in school, writing alphabet, our hundreds chart, we count every day, our numbers to help us know how to write them, and this is where the students sit, and this is what they see. But we can't forget our good friend, Constantine the Turtle, who's here to cheer us up even if we have a bad day.
Little Miss Muffet by Mother Goose. Little Miss Muffet sat on a toffee, eating her curds and whey. Along came a spider, who sat down beside her and frightened Miss Muffet away.
Thank you very much for joining me today, and I will see you in the live session.
All right. Welcome to everyone who's joined us during that video. If you missed part of that video or part of the video or all of the video from Father Bill, we're going to be sharing all these videos after the fact. Also, if you had any issues, I know sometimes over Zoom there can be a little bit of a lag, so we'll be sharing higher resolution copies of those videos as well after the meeting. Thank you all for joining us. I'd now like to introduce Andrew Petriga in person, who's going to say a few words about kindergarten, its teaching philosophy, and about St. Thomas. After that, we'll move into Q&A time. We'll be able to do Q&A until about 2:45, at which point we'll have to get ready for our next open house meeting. I know some of you have signed up for multiple sessions, so we may be seeing you later today as well. But Mr. Petriga.
Thank you very much, Michael. I am, I'm sorry, not Michael. Michael's your son. My apologies. I'm here in my room, and I have to say, this is one of the happiest places I have to go to. It has so many memories. It has so many good feelings. It's where I like to be because it's fulfilling my job as being here on earth. I've always had this feeling that God was leading me somewhere. And growing up, I actually did not like school. I went through the public school system and went through the motions and always kind of struggled to find my passion. And within my search for who I am, I discovered I love learning. I love it so much. And once I kind of tapped into that idea, it was a never-ending just journey to bring me here to St. Thomas. Because in my quest for teaching myself and learning, I've also developed a passion for passing that on to the next generation or the future generations. There's probably going to be many generations that will come through these doors. So my philosophy on teaching is, like I had mentioned in the video, is based on making it fun, making learning entertaining, making it connect to God, because that is why we're all here. And it's interesting how constrained education can be in other models, where you can't speak of God, you can't reference him. And so you need to kind of talk about everything he's made without mentioning him. Here in the classical model, here at St. Thomas, we have that freedom. We have the freedom to go from math to science to history to art to music. And the beautiful blend that it has culminates in the idea of God. And I wish I could articulate how much that the students enjoy this whole process. Words can be very limiting at times, but the students come here in the morning and they are excited, and that passion, that excitement lasts throughout the day. And part of my teaching style also is leaving little cliffhangers at the end of the day, teaching a history lesson and, building it up, and then you'll learn the next part tomorrow, and hearing that groan of like, oh, then the next day they come in like, all right, are we going to learn the rest of that? Are we going to hear the rest of that story? Or are we going to finish that, those ideas in science? Like, what's the next concept in math? I never thought I would hear kindergartners being excited over math, but they come in and they just bubble over with excitement for all these different things we're learning. And so that's why I'm here, and that's what I bring to St. Thomas.
Fantastic. Thank you. Yeah, I have one of my kids is in first grade now. I had Mr. Patriga last year, and one of them is in his class now. And frequently on car rides to and from school, one of them, and my daughter who's in kindergarten, will say, "This week we're learning about the Mesopotamians," and then my son will start telling her more, and she'll yell out, "No spoilers, no spoilers!" She gets very upset if she gets spoilers for her history lessons. So, all right. So yeah, I would love to get started the Q&A. So if anyone has any questions, feel free to just shout out your questions or drop them in the chat as well. So yeah, let's get started.
I see a couple of names of parents that I've had before, so welcome back.
Yeah, and feel free to unmute your video or audio as needed.
All right. So while we wait for a question, again, if you have a question, just speak up. I like to share stories about just special moments we have in class. Students can be a bit rambunctious at times, and in moments where their passions overflow and bump into somebody else, namely at the playground, the students have a hard time sometimes managing those I guess angrier emotions. They'll come up and say, "Mr. Patriga, so and so just bumped into me." And so, I work with them and I talk to them about it, and we get all the parties involved to come together. And my job is to not interject myself and say, "All right, you have to apologize, you have to do this." My job is to have them talk to each other and to resolve this problem, because if I'm not giving them the skills to resolve their issues, then those moments where I'm not there, those issues are just going to keep popping up and they don't know how to deal with it. And so we've actually been developing the concept of forgiveness. And we had one of these moments a couple weeks ago. A girl was very upset, and She's like, Mr. Patriga, so and so, said something not nice to me at lunch. So I said, all right, well, what should we do about this? Should this be a situation where you want to hurt him back? Is that what we do? Or are we gonna go after this person and try to get revenge? She's like, no, we would never do that. I'm like, okay, what's your other option? And she thought about it. She said, I could forgive him. Like, that's a great start. That's a great start. Forgiveness is not always an easy thing to do. We have a lot of emotions inside of us, and forgiveness is usually not the one that bubbles up to the surface right away. And so I congratulated the student on coming up with this solution and this idea. And I actually had meant to call the other young man over to have him be face to face with this person has an issue. But before I could even call his name, she just quietly walks over to him, taps him on the shoulder, and says, I forgive you for making fun of me at lunch today. And the look on his face was priceless. Like he had just been caught, and he just was confronted with what he did. And he looked at her, and it took a second, but he said, thank you. And it's beautiful moments like that that make this worthwhile. Having this, being a witness to that, because that is being a witness to God. And that's what this is all about.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any questions, folks?
Yeah, I got one quick one. How often do the children go to mass?
In previous years, the kindergarten through second grade went to mass 2 days a week. This year, due to the COVID restrictions and our following our procedures and practices for the safety of the students, we only go 1 day. We go on Monday morning at 8:15. It's a special mass just for our school. And we also attend adoration on Fridays.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello. Just
Hello.
asking for a friend. Hypothetically, is there anything that the kindergarten to be should come prepared to already do, like some prerequisites? I would think this would be addressed by preschool, but again, I'm asking for a friend. So.
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, so some things you could get prepared for would be letter identification, knowing their ABCs, being able to identify colors, some basic shapes. But the thing is, even if your student doesn't have those skills, we still cover those. And we, especially in the beginning half of the year, I would say, we cover those to a great extent. So if you come in already knowing that, great. We're going to review the things that you know, and we're going to build on that. But if you come in not knowing those things, you're not going to be lost. You're not going to be sitting in the corner wondering what's going on. Because, our job is to satisfy the needs of all the students.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I didn't realize my video so eloquently described everything and nobody has a question. That's
How many kids are in the class?
oh, that's a great question. We have 16 students in our class, which helps us divide up activities in a good way of 4 groups of 4 in our class. Following the COVID precautions, we have our desks all spread out 6 feet apart, and so we have you can imagine kind of like a 1950s or 60s classroom where you have rows of desks all faced towards one way. Yeah, and so that's the setup for this year. But every year comes with different issues, different struggles. So every year that I've been here, the classrooms looked a little bit different. We still teach the same material, but sometimes material just needs to be presented in a different way when you have a different variety or a different group of students. You know, some groups will have certain strengths that require one format, and another group might require a different setup for different strengths and weaknesses. So, you know, we're here to work together and work for the mutual benefit of all the students.
I'll mention too, Mr. Patriga, that as a matter of design, we keep our kindergarten to 16 students. As Mr. Patriga's mentioned, there's a lot of dialogue that goes on in the classroom. And that's an important part of just the classical pedagogy and learning environment, where a child is needing to, you know, formulate thought, express thought, listen to someone else's expression of what they're thinking and why they think it. So we keep our classrooms smaller than most traditional public schools or even Catholic schools. So we will have a maximum of 16 students in our classroom next year as well.
Thank you. Yeah, I had to say, like, the format for this year being, you know, with all the COVID precautions, it's come up with different, I guess, a different format or a different formula of teaching, where, you know, having to keep distance, we can't really have like groups to getting together, but, you know, that just helps us develop different other creative ways of expressing our learning and developing our learning. And so now I've kind of ventured outside of the four walls of our classroom. And so I take lessons into the gym on occasion. You know, we have Catechism of the Good Shepherd, which takes us to a different room. We have all of our specials that are all in different rooms as well. So the students get a change of scenery. And yeah, it's just a beautiful thing, just being able to have all these different environments for our students to grow.
Yeah, no, that's awesome to hear about the class size and, you know, the focus that is put. I mean, I could only imagine in a larger school where those classrooms are 25, 30 kids. I couldn't imagine. What a blessing. As far as time structure for the day, what does a typical day look like from start time to any of the activities or key activities throughout the day, lunch, recess, and then the end of the day?
Yeah, so we start the day at 8 a.m. and then in the morning, as the kids are unpacking, we kind of settle in and take attendance, and then we switch right into just a quick morning meeting where we talk about, you know, like you saw in the video, I had the days of the week and the calendar and the weather and counting the days of school. And so all of those elements are ingenious ways of integrating more math and more, you know, thinking, you know, into just something as basic as figuring out what today is. You know, we look at all the events of the day, we kind of make our plan. So we're setting all that up really early in the morning. From there, the morning changes a little bit because we have a couple specials and we go to the library on Tuesdays, Catechism of the Good Shepherd on Wednesdays. But generally, we would do a religion class. And then at 9 a.m., we have a recess. We take about a half an hour. We go outside, we let off, you know, energy and just get some fresh air. We come back in, we do our reading and writing time. That's where we talk about our poem of the week. We find the parts of speech. We analyze, you know, particular words and break them down into their phonemes, and, you know, that's where we reference Sound City and we build words and use syllables and all that wonderful stuff. And that's also where we get our handwriting work. And then that is for about an hour and a half. And also within that time, we have opportunities for getting up and moving around. When we do our poems, we're not just sitting in our seats, just mumbling them. I have the students get up and we develop different movements and different activities to help our recitations come more alive. And so, like you saw in the video, for Little Miss Muffet, the kids sit down and then they have the different actions. And then that one, they had to stand up and run away from the spider. And so those are opportunities for the students to kind of get up and move around a little bit. After that, we go to lunch at 11. And then they come back around 11:25, 11:30. We have a quiet time from 11:30 until our first special, which is at 12:45 or 12:50. I'm sorry, not 12, but 11:50. Our specials are Spanish, choir, art, and gym. Choir happens 2 days a week. After specials over, the students come back and we settle down a little bit. We take a quick bathroom break and water break, and then we head outside for our afternoon recess. From our afternoon recess, we come back in. Again, just have a couple minutes to settle down, get water, bathroom break and all those things. And then that's when we do math. And then after math, we mix up either science or history, and we alternate. And then by that time, it's the end of the day. And it's time for us to go out to the parent pickup spot. So it seems like a lot, but with the breaks that we have, it's very well paced, and it gives the students enough opportunities to kind of get up and move their muscles and get stretched out. So it's not just sitting in a seat and mundanely looking at the front where the teacher is.
Awesome, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have another one. This is actually for each of you, Mr. Delora as headmaster and Mr. Petriga. When I consider classical education, could you actually sum up from your perspective what your goal is in each of your positions and what obstacle might be in the way and how you're planning to overcome it?
Thanks, great question. Andrew, do you mind if I share?
Oh yeah, go ahead.
In my role as headmaster, I'm needing to work hard at creating culture. I think the culture of a school is really the set of beliefs, practices that become, in a sense, automatic, the habits of mind that create an environment in which the child sort of breathes. And it sort of plays an important role in their formation, but it's not obvious because it's in the background, and it becomes normalized when a culture is truly a culture. And so we've worked hard at creating a classical Catholic culture in our school where there's a sense of, number one, the dignity of the student, the dignity of each human person, where children are treating each other, teachers are treating each other, and children treating staff in a way that really honors everyone and honors God's love for them, mirrors his love for each person. And so that's foundational. We build that out of the virtues of the quarter, the virtues of the term that we focus on. There are 4 terms in the year, and this year we're focusing on the virtue of patience first, and then we focused during Nicholas' term on the virtue of generosity, and now Scholastica term, we're focusing on the virtue of docility. And these virtues are meant to be opportunities for the teachers to help a child, one, understand them, and then see modeling of those virtues so that they can become habits, indeed virtues. And so at the end of the term, on the first Monday of the new term, teachers pick particular students and they're awarded for their being an example, a model to others of that virtue. And then in terms of just academically, supporting the teachers again, in my role, in taking on a classical mindset of seeing the levels of a child's learning that engage their memory, their reason, their imagination, and their will. And being able to create lessons using the curricular tools that we have. Mr. Patriga has given several great examples, and his one example of the child hitting upon forgiveness. That's a great example of the integration of these different aspects of the human child, of the human person, that a classical education is meant to form and to impact and to integrate. Again, memory, reason, imagination, and will. And in a classical education, you're looking to integrate those in, again, the three transcendentals. And so, all of that happens in subtle ways. Different teachers live that out as an expression of their own gifts, their own personality. We do have a curriculum that also structures that in terms of the actual content of our learning. I personally try to be a witness of all those things. And so at my level of headmaster, looking at being able to create a place where people can, in a sense, feel what it means to be in a classical Catholic school. And we get feedback on that, just in terms of, it's been harder because of our COVID restrictions. But in the past, people can come into the school visually, in terms of the art, in terms of the orderliness of the space, of the facility. There's just a certain sense of holy order that fills the day, the space, and our persons that we try to grow in and live out more deeply all the time. We're all on a journey.
Andrew, anything you wanted to add to that before we wrap things up here?
Yeah. And so I guess, so classical education to me means making that connection between what we're learning and the world around us, and kind of bridging that gap, because in other types of education, it's a very separated thing. Like, you have math and you only use it during math time, and it's only applied in math topics. When you talk about science, it's only applied in science classes and when somebody's talking about science. The beautiful thing about a classical education is our being able to connect everything together. And so, we live, I don't know if you know this, but we live kind of in a crazy world. And the students aren't blind to that. Even at 5 or 6 years old, the students have experiences either from watching TV or listening to music or things that just don't really fit with what we believe God is wanting for us. And the kids will have questions. And so one of the problems is, how do we get those kids to understand that God is real, and this world is also something that God has made that's real, but there's a sense of broken, there's a sense of disorder out there. How do we make sense of all that? And so part of the classical education is just kind of tying all that together. And so I actually had a situation last week where we're talking about history, and we're talking about ancient Assyria, and how they would go into a city. If they had to battle a city, they took prisoners, they took slaves. And so we talked about what is slavery, and how does it make people how does it make people feel, and just what does it do to people as a whole, not just isolated groups, not just Assyrians, or not just the Egyptians or Mesopotamians or Canaanites. How does it make humanity as a whole either better or worse? And then it actually got to a really interesting part where one of the boys in the classroom rose his hand and he said, wait, if slavery is being forced to do something to somebody else, what somebody else wants to do, aren't we slaves to God? And now we're hitting upon deeper level thinking of what exactly is our relationship with God. And we were able to have this conversation in kindergarten. Are we slaves to God? And we're able to kind of go through and talk about, no, God wants what's best for us, not what's best for him. In a situation where you have slavery, it's the master looking after his self and his interest. And in the sense of God, he looks at us and he wants us to do better. But even when we don't, he's still there to support us, to love us, and still call us home. He wants us to be with him. And, the students were able to, start having that kind of aha moment, because I think a couple other students maybe had that kind of question in their head. But now we're like, oh, okay, so the relationship between us and God is different than the relationship between people and people. People are flawed, but God is perfect, and he's always calling us home. He's always wanting us to do better. Even when we don't, he wants to forgive us, and he has that forgiveness for us. And so that's one of the things about classical education that I think is very beautiful, our connectedness to the world all around us, not just isolated away in a corner learning only about, static math. I hope that answers your question.
Yes, thank you very much,
Okay.
both of you.
Thank you all so much. We're running out of time here. We got to get ready for our next open house session, which is starting at 3 o'clock. So I'm sorry if there was other questions we didn't get a chance to get to. So I'm going to turn it over to Laura Steffi, who's going to give you some information about how to get in touch with our school. If you need more information, have more questions, that kind of thing. Laura?
I'm Laura, and I'm the secretary at St. Thomas School, and thank you for coming to the open house. And I'm sure everyone enjoyed Mr. Patriga, and all of our staff and students just have a great time with him. He's a wonderful teacher. If you'd like to find out more, I'd be happy to schedule an appointment with our headmaster, Mr. DeLaura. You can come in and have a conference with him and discuss classical education a bit more in depth, and take a tour of our school and see our children and teachers and everything in action. Our telephone number is 734-769-0911, or you can email me and I'd be happy to send you a packet of information with registration materials, tuition, and a bit about our school. My email is lsteffy, STEFFY, @sta2.org. And thank you again for coming.
Thank you. Tim, any final words?
Chris, thank you for moderating. Parents, thank you for your interest in St. Thomas School. Again, feel welcome to get a hold of Mrs. Steffi. God bless you. Have a great rest of the day.
Thank
Thank
you
you.
all.
Yes, thank you. God bless you all.
Thank you.